Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Janaranjana Yashodanandana Janaranjana Yamunatira Anachari Munatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Yavihari Radha Madhava Javihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, devotees. I think we have lost Rasaprayan Prabhu. He should be joining shortly. Thank you. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam. Can you please unmute yourself, please? It's on mute now. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Right. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Shri Radha Govind ki jai Shri Radha Girdhari ki jai Subhadra Jagannath Bhagwan ki jai Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, everyone. A very happy new year. Let's start today's reading of Srila Prabhupada Lilamrit. Prabhupada told Krishnananda that he wanted to play the piano. The Jagannath deities who had sat atop the piano for a week were now back in San Francisco at the temple. But when Kritanand and Upendra moved the piano away from the wall, they heard the thud of a falling object. What is that? Prabhupada asked. Kirtanand reached behind the piano and produced a framed canvas wrapped in a madras. He uncovered it and revealed a painting of Lord Narasimhadev. Why is this being hidden behind the piano? Prabhupada asked. Janki happened to be visiting at the temple and she confessed while she had been arranging the house for Prabhupada's arrival, someone had sent the painting out to the house. She had found it and hidden it. It was ghastly, she explained. Lord Narasimha was tearing open Hiranyakashipu's abdomen, and there was blood everywhere. Patiently, Prabhupada explained that although the materialist people feel sorry for Hiranyakashipu, devotees become ecstatic. When they see Narasimhadev tearing him apart, Hiranyakashipu, he said, had terrorized the whole universe and had usurped the throne of Indra, the king of heaven. Hiranyakashipu had even tortured his own 5-year-old son, Prahlad, a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. So there was nothing wrong in Lord Narasimha's pastime. In fact, Hiranyakashipu, having been killed by the Lord, had been liberated. After directing the devotees to hang the picture on the wall, Srila Prabhupada sat down and played the piano. The devotees had seen Prabhupada beautifully play the Indian harmonium, his left hand pumping the bellows, his right hand fingering the keyboard, but never a piano. They went away, he knew how, but he expertly played the melodies of Indian bhajans. After about 5 minutes, he stopped. Okay, let me.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, do I share the screen for the...
No, I've got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to our morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today's reading is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, titled The Creative Impetus, Chapter 1, The Activities of Maharaj Priyavarta. Today's reading is text 3. Mahatam kalu priyavarse uttam shloka padayo. Mahatam kalu priyavarse uttam shloka padayo. Chaya nivarta chitanam. Chaya nivarta chitanam. Na kutumbe sprahmati. Mahatam kalu viprase uttam shloka padayo. Chaya nivartita chitanam. Na kutumbe sprahamati. Yes, somebody please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. I am reading from the... Mahatam kholo viprarshe uttama shloko padayoho chaya nibrito chittanam no kutumbe sprihamatihi. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, bro. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Madhuri.
Mohatam kholu viprarshe uttamo shloko padayoho chaya nirbritto chittanam no kutumbe sprihamatihi. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. I am also trying. Mahataং khalu viprarse uttama sloka padayoho chayan riputta chittanang na kutumbe sprihamatihi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else? Come on, there are so many people. Why?
Done with pranam.
Hare Krishna, Madaji, please.
Mahatam khalo viprase uttam shloka padayo chaya nivrita chittanam na kutumbe spraha matihi. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Anybody else? Somebody else, please. There are quite a few of us there. One so shy. Okay, synonyms. Mahatam, of great devotees. Khalu, certainly. Viprarise, O great sage among the Brahmins. Uttama Shloka Padayo, of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chaya, by the shade. Nirvata, satiated. Chitana, whose consciousness, na, neva, kutumbe, to family member. Sprahamatihi, consciousness with attachment. Translation in purport by His Divine Grace, Aisi Bhakti Vedanta Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Elevated Mahatmas who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are fully satiated by the shade of those lotus feet. Their consciousness cannot possibly become attached to family members. Perfect. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung Nitai Pandakamla Koti Chandra Sutala Ya Chaya Jagata Judaya. He describes the shade of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda as being so nice and cooling that all materialists who are always in the blazing fire of material activities may come under the shade of his lotus feet and be fully relieved and satiated. The distinction between family life and spiritual life can be experienced by any person who has undergone the tribulation of living with a family. One who comes under the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord never becomes attracted by the activities of family life. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 59, Param Drishtva Nivartate. One gives up lower engagements when he experiences a higher taste. Thus one becomes detached from family life as soon as he comes under the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Loknath Swami Niti Namne. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namne. Namaste Saraswate Devi Gaurvani Pracharanya Nirvisese Sunyavadi Pachata Desatare. Mukam Karoti Vachalum Pangam Nagarai Garam Yat Kirpatam Ham Bande Guru Deenatarane. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantika. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuttapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsha. Sri Rupam Sagriyatam Sagana Raghunatha Vitam Tam Sajima. Sadvaitam Savdutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Deva. Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Dalita Sri Vishakha Nitamsha. Vanchakalpata हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगत पते गोपीश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्ते जयतम श्रुतो पंगोर मम मन मतेर गति मत सर्वस्पदम भोज राधा मदन मोहन तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरि प्रिय वाञ्छाकल्पातरुभयश्च कृपा सिन्धुभयो ये च पतितनां पावनभयो वैष्णव्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय हरे कृष्णा the text 3 is Mahatam Kalu Priyavarse Uttam Shloka Padayo Jaya Nivrata Chitanam Na Kutumbe Sprahamati. This is King Parikshit asking Sukadeva Goswami, how come King Maharaj Priyavarta or King Priyavarta, who was a pure devotee, got involved in family life. So he's saying in this sloka that elevated Mahatma, who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are fully saturated by the shade of those lotus feet. The consciousness cannot possibly become attached to family members. So he's questioning how come he got deviated from spiritual services. Going back to what we have already heard, Canto 5, the title is Creative Impetus. In Sanskrit, it's called Rachanatamak Prosahan. Creative means producing or using original and unusual ideas. I looked up the meaning of creative impetus. Creative is original and unusual ideas. And some synonyms for creative is inventive, innovative, and visionary. And impetus means something that encourages a particular activity or makes that activity more energetic or effective. The significance of creative impetus means that reflects the divine energy and inspiration that drive the creation and sustenance. Sustenance means maintenance or nourishment of the universe. It emphasizes the idea that material world is not a random occurrence, but a manifestation of the Supreme Lord's will and purpose. By understanding the cosmic order and the role of divine beings, we can gain insight into our place in the universe and our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In a sense, Canto 5 provides a profound understanding of the universe's creation and the divine forces at play. The divine forces that creates, maintains, and annihilates. So chapter 5, Canto 5 describes that, encouraging us to appreciate the intricate design and purpose behind its existence, or understanding the person, the creator. It looks into the intricate workings of the universe and the divine forces behind it, its creation and maintenance. This section highlights the following key points, or this canto highlights the following key points. Cosmic structure. The Bhagavatam describes the structure of the universe, including the various planetary systems and their inhabitants. It provides a detailed account of different realms or spaces, from the higher celestial planets to the lower earthly and subterranean worlds, or the Patalok. And it also highlights the role of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the ultimate source of all creation. His expanses in incarnations such as Mahavishnu and Garbhodakshai Vishnu play crucial roles in creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the universe. King Priyavarta's reign. The canto narrates the story of King Priyavarta, a devoted ruler who, under the guidance of Lord Vishnu, takes on the responsibility of governing the universe. His actions and sacrifices exemplify the divine impetus behind creation and the importance of righteous leadership or the proper leadership. It also explains or describes the Jambudvip and other islands. Bhagavatam provides a detailed description of Jambudvip, the central island of the earthly realm, and its surrounding island. It explains the geographical and spiritual significance of these regions and their inhabitants, and also explains the karma and reincarnations. The concept of karma, or actions and reactions, and its consequences is explored in depth. The canto emphasizes how the soul's actions in previous lives influence its current circumstances and future destinies, highlighting this cyclical nature of birth, death, and rebirth. The creative impetus is not a one-time event, but it's not like the Great Bang Theory. Doesn't just bang is created. No, it's a continuous process. The Lord's energy constantly sustains and maintains the creation, ensuring the balance and the harmony of the universe. This chapter narrates the journey of King Priyavarta, who initially enjoyed royal splendor and majesty, but eventually retained to full knowledge. Although he was initially detached from worldly opulence, he later became attached to his kingdom. So this is why the king is asking Sukadeva Goswami how come he was detached to family life and then how come he got involved in it. So I'm not going to go any further on it because that's coming up. So I'm just going to highlight it, some things. He ultimately renounced material, though he was detached and gone back into it, and then he finally renounced material enjoyment and achieved liberation. King Parikshit, upon hearing this, was amazed and puzzled about how a devotee without attachment to material pleasures could later become attached. In his astonishment, he questioned Sukadeva Goswami. Now I'm going to talk about, spend a bit of time looking at what is family life and spiritual life, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, not myself. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, both family life and spiritual life are discussed extensively, highlighting their roles and significance in the journey of a soul. Family life is Grastha Ashram, the role and responsibilities. Family life is considered one of the 4 stages of life of ashrams, remember. In Vedic culture, it involves taking on responsibilities such as marriage, raising children, contributing to society. And Bhagavatam emphasizes that family life should be conducted with a sense of duty and responsibility, following the principles of dharma. Remember, it should be conducted with sense of duty and responsibility, as like if you are raising your family, is the duty of the father. So you carry out the duties of a father and the responsibilities, but following the principles of dharma. And at the same time, while living a family life, individuals are encouraged to practice sense control and detachment. While practicing, we need to practice detachment and sense control. This means fulfilling one's duties without becoming overly attached to material possessions and pleasures. Family life is seen as a training ground for developing self-discipline and preparing for higher stages of spiritual practice. In Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 10, we may recall, is stated that Kamasya Nindriya Pritir Labo Jivata Yavata Jivasya Tattva Jigyasa Narato Yasacheha Karma Bihi. Kamasya means desires, and Indriya is senses, and Priti satisfaction. Translation and purport again, I'm just quoting this one. Srila Prabhupada translates that life's desires should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should, this is from Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 10. One should desire only a healthy life, a self-preservation, since human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's work. And he explains in the purport, is given a lengthy purport on that. I'll read that. The completely bewildered material civilization is wrongly directed towards the fulfillment of desires in sense gratification. This is what Srila Prabhupada is writing. In such a civilization, all these spheres of life, the ultimate end is sense gratification. In politics, social service, altruism, philanthropy, and ultimately in religion or even in salvation, the very same tint of sense gratification is ever increasingly predominant. In the political field, the leaders of men fight with one another to fulfill their proposed personal sense gratification. The voters adore the so-called leaders only when they promise sense gratification. As soon as the voters are satisfied in their own sense gratification, they dethrone the leaders. The leaders must always disappoint the voters by not satisfying their senses. The same is applicable in all other fields. No one is serious about the problems of life. Even those who are on the path of salvation desire to become one with the absolute truth and desire to commit spiritual suicide for sense gratification. But the Bhagavatam says that one should not live for sense gratification. One should satisfy the senses only in so much as required for self-preservation and not for sense gratification. Because the body is made of senses, which also require a certain amount of satisfaction. There are regulations regulative directions for satisfaction of each senses. But the senses are not meant for unrestricted enjoyment. For example, marriage or the combination of men and women, man with a woman, is necessary for progeny, but it is not meant for sense enjoyment. In the absence of voluntary restraint, there is propaganda for family planning. But foolish men do not know that family planning is automatically executed as soon as there is search after the absolute truth. Seekers of the absolute truth are never lured to unnecessary engagements in sense gratification, because the serious students seeking the absolute truth are always overwhelmed with the work of researching the truth. In every sphere of life, therefore, the ultimate end must be seeking after the absolute truth. Remember, absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that sort of engagement will make one happy, because he will be less engaged in varieties of sense gratification. And what that absolute truth is explained. And what is that absolute truth is explained in the next sloka 11. It's Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 11. Vadanti tatta tattva vidasa tattvam yat jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwan iti sabdayate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagwan. Now, going to spiritual foundation, Bhagavatam advises that family life should be based on spiritual principles. This includes regular worship, chanting of holy names, and engaging in devotional activity. A family that centers its life around spiritual practice creates a conducive environment for spiritual growth and development. So, though Bhagavatam tells us to practice spiritual life, it doesn't leave us in the wild, but tells us how to practice spiritual life. And the foundation is there in Bhakti Yoga, or devotional service. Srimad Bhagavatam places great emphasis on Bhakti Yoga, or devotional service to the Supreme Lord, as the highest form of spiritual practice. Devotional service involves activities such as hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. Remember the 9 types. Worshipping the deity and serving other devotees. The spiritual life aims at spiritual life aims to transcend the material world and its temporary pleasure by engaging in devotional service. Individuals can purify their hearts and develop a loving relationship with the Supreme Lord. The Bhagavatam teaches that true happiness and liberation or moksha can only be achieved through devotion to the Lord. And this devotional service is emphasized in almost every canto. It gives us examples of exalted devotees who have practiced both family life as well as spiritual life, and how they did this. So chapter after chapter, we read or hear about individuals who have gone through the process. As individuals progress in their spiritual life, they may choose to renounce material attachment and dedicate themselves fully to spiritual pursuits. This stage is known as sannyas ashram. Renunciation is not about abandoning responsibilities, but about cultivating a deep sense of detachment and focusing on ultimate goal of life, is spiritual realization. Remember when the Pandavas, when Lord Krishna is left, they didn't take long to renounce everything, gave everything to away, and left. As individuals progress in their spiritual life, they may choose to renounce material attachments and dedicate themselves fully to spiritual pursuits. This stage is known as sannyas ashram. Srimad Bhagavatam encourages a balanced approach where family life and spiritual life are integrated. It teaches that one can fulfill their worldly duties while maintaining a strong spiritual foundation. By living a life of dharma and devotion, individuals can progress on their spiritual journeys and ultimately attain liberation. And this is what I was saying earlier, that there are so many examples of individuals who successfully lived a family life at the same time with detached. It teaches us, like for Krishna himself, when time came to live, he just detached everybody, did not think twice about it. In Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 6, the earlier and one, Nas Nave Pumsa Paro Dharma Yato Bhaktir Adokshadya. Ahituke Apriyata Yatma Suprasiddhate, the famous one. The supreme occupation or dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendental Lord. Such a devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. And Canto 3, Chapter 25, Text 20. Prasangam ajaram pasam atmanah kavyayo vidhu sayo sadhu sukrito moksha dvaram apravirtam. Every learned man knows very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. But the same attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotees, opens the door for liberation. In Srila Prabhupada explains further in his purport on this verse. This is part of the teachings of Lord Kapila to his mother, Dehuti. It is clearly, this is Prabhupada's paper, it is clearly stated that attachment for one thing is the cause of bondage in conditional life. And at the same time, and the same attachment, when applied to something else, opens the door of liberation. Attachment cannot be killed. It is simply to be transferred. Attachment for material things is called material consciousness. Now, Srila Prabhupada explains how we can practice detachment. He said we can't kill attachment. It's part and parcel of us, but we have to divert it. And how Prabhupada explains here. Attachment to material things is called material consciousness, and attachment to Krishna or his devotees is called Krishna consciousness. Consciousness, therefore, is the platform of attachment. It is clearly stated here that when we simply purify the consciousness from material consciousness to Krishna consciousness, we obtain liberation. Despite the statement that one should give up attachment, desirelessness is not possible for a living entity. A living entity by constitution has the propensity to be attached to something. We see that if someone has no object of attachment, if he has no children, then he transfers his attachment to cats and dogs. This indicates that the propensity for attachment cannot be stopped. It must be utilized for the best purpose. Our attachment for material things perpetuates our conditional state. But the same attachment, when transferred to the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotees, is the source of liberation. Here it is recommended that attachment should be transferred to the self-realized devotee, the sadhu. And who is a sadhu? Prabhupada explains, a sadhu is not just an ordinary man with a saffron robe or long beard. A sadhu is described in Bhagavad Gita as one who unflinchingly engages in devotional service, even though one is found not to be following the strict rules and regulations of devotional service. If one simply has unflinching faith in Krishna, the Supreme Person, he is understood to be a sadhu. I'll read that. If one has unflinching faith in Krishna, the Supreme Person, he is understood to be a sadhu. This is Srila Prabhupada defines who is a sadhu. Sadhu Vyasa Mantavya, Bhagavad Gita 9:30, remember that. A sadhu is a strict follower of devotional service. It is recommended here that if one at all wants to realize Brahman or the spiritual perfection, his attachment should be transferred to the sadhu, a devotee. Lord Chaitanya also confirmed this love mantra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila chapter 24 text 54. Simply by a moment's association with the sadhu, one can attain perfection. Remember, another word for sadhu is Mahatma. It's a synonym of sadhu. It is said that service to a Mahatma or elevated devotee of the Lord is Dwaram or Vimukte, the royal road of liberation. Mahatasevam Dwaram or Vimukte Tamo Dwaram Yositam Sangi Sangam. Srimad Bhagavatam, later, this is Canto 5, Chapter 5, Text 2, you will come across that. Rendering service to the materialist has the opposite effect. If anyone offers service to a gross materialist or a person engaged only in sense enjoyment, then by association with such a person, the door to hell is open. The same principle is confirmed here. Attachment to a devotee is attachment to the service of the Lord. Because if one associates with a sadhu, the result will be that the sadhu will teach him how to become a devotee, a worshipper, and a sincere servitor of the Lord. These are the gifts of a sadhu. If we want to associate with a sadhu, we cannot expect him to give us instructions on how to improve our material condition, but he will give us instructions on how to cut the knot of the contamination of material attraction and how to elevate ourselves in devotional service. That is the result of association with a sadhu. Kapil Muni, Kapil the first of all, instructs that the path of liberation begins with such an association. Canto 7, Chapter 14, Text 2, Narad Rishi says, Graso avistito rajam kriye purvam yatochitaha Vasudev pranamam sakshad upasitaha mahamuni. He's explaining to Yudhishthira. My dear king, those who stay at home as householders must act to earn their livelihood. And instead of trying to enjoy the results of the work themselves, they should offer these results to Krishna, Vasudeva. How to satisfy Vasudeva in this life can be perfectly understood through the association of devotees of the Lord. And in Prabhupada, Prabhupada further explains this text. The format of Grihastha life should be dedication to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, text 1, it is said, Anasrita karma phala karyam karya karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niraganir na chakshirya. One who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no work. Whether one acts as a brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, or sannyasi, he must act only for the satisfaction of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. Krishna, so son of Vasudeva. This should be the principle for everyone's life. Narad Muni has already described the principles of life for a brahmachari, vanaprastha, and sannyasi, and now he is describing how a grihastha should live. The basic principles is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if you want to read more about it, go back to this or go to this sloka, or it's coming later, many. It's in Canto 4, chapter 14. So chapters 13 and 14, you can enlighten yourself how Narad Rishi explains the responsibilities of brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasi. Prabhupada continues, the sense of satisfying the Supreme Lord can be learned as described here. Sakshada upasita mahamuni. The word mahamuni refers to great saintly persons or devotees. Saintly persons are generally known as munis, or thoughtful philosophers concerned with transcendental subject matters. And Mahamuni refers to those who have not only thoroughly studied the goals of life, but who are actually engaged in satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. These persons are known as devotees. Unless one associates with devotees, one cannot learn the science of Vasudeva Aparana, or dedicating one's life to Vasudeva, Krishna. In India, the principles of this science were followed strictly even 50 years ago. This is Srila Prabhupada saying, so it's much more time now. I saw that in the villages of Bengal and the suburbs of Calcutta, people engaged in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam daily when all the activities ended, or at least in the evening before going to bed. Everyone would hear the Bhagavatam. Bhagavat classes were held in every village, and thus people had the advantage of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, which describes everything about the aim of life, liberation, and salvation. The ideal family life is a summary of Canto 7, chapter 14. So I'd like to give you a summary of that. This chapter describes the occupation duties of the householder according to the time, the country, and the performer. When Yudhishthira Maharaj became very much inquisitive about the occupational duties for the householder, Narad Muni advised him that a Grahastha's first duty is to be fully dependent on Vasudeva Krishna and to try to satisfy him in all respects by executing one's prescribed devotional service. This devotional service will depend on the instructions of authorities and the association of devotees who are actually engaged in devotional service. So you can go to this chapter. I'm not going to read the whole thing. In summary, Srimad Bhagavatam provides the comprehensive guide on how to live a balanced life, fulfilling both material and spiritual responsibilities, and ultimately achieving the highest goal of life, devotion to the Supreme Lord. Remember, the mission of human life is to realize oneself and then gradually go back home, back to Godhead, as Srila Prabhupada says. The human form of life is especially meant for getting out of the bondage of fruitive activities. But as long as one is forgetful of his life's mission, the acts like an ordinary animal, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, he must continue his conditional life of material existence. In the earlier in the summary of this chapter, Srila Prabhupada writes that household life is the main cause of material bondage for both things. In household life, one becomes bound by the results of fruitive activity. The essence of household life is sense enjoyment, and as long as one engrosses his mind in working hard for sense enjoyment, one becomes bound by the reactions of the fruitive activities. Remember, the action and reactions, good things also bind us. The Supreme Personality of God cannot be understood by any means except bhakti. The Lord confirms this in Bhagavatam. Canto 11, text, chapter 14, text 21. By following these principles, we can perform our duties as parents, friends, sons, husbands. I'm not highlighting the duties because we are on the beginning of the canto, text 3. So later on I'm just highlighting so that you, even if you don't attend the class, you can go back and read this canto. It tells us how we can perform our duties as friends, our parents, friends, sons, husbands, and wives without accumulating negative karmic reaction. This helps us in leading a spiritual fulfillment. However, it sounds simple in theory, but in practice, it can be quite challenging. And we are all experiencing that. Saving our family, community, and country without attachment requires a significant safety mindset and continuous effort. So Bhagavatam or Vyasdev or the Lord, our Acharya don't say that it's simple. It is difficult. Just define what is attachment. It refers to emotional dependence on the outcomes of our actions and the people we serve. This can lead to expectations, disappointments, and stress. So attachment, what is attachment? We become emotional dependence, or even physical dependence. Children are physically dependent on parents. but as parents, we are emotionally dependent on our family, my spouses, children. And this sort of expectation only gives us disappointments and stress. And detachment, it doesn't mean indifference or lack of care. Instead, it means perform our duties with love and dedication, but without being overly concerned about the results. It doesn't say you should not be concerned about the result, but overly concerned. Don't go overboard. Engage in selfless service, where the focus is on the act of giving rather than expecting anything in return. This can be practiced in small daily actions. I am now giving you some of the strategies for practicing detachment. Save without expecting anything in return. Regular meditation, prayer, and chanting can help in cultivating a sense of inner peace and detachment. These practices remind us of the higher purpose of our actions. If we miss out on this, we're bound to forget what our mission is. Understanding the bigger picture, we reflect on the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and other spiritual texts that emphasize the transcendent nature of the material world and importance of performing duties without attachment. Cultivate gratitude for the opportunity to save and accept that not everything is within our control. This helps in reducing the anxiety associated with the outcomes. And seek guidance from spiritual mentors, teachers, or like-minded individuals, not just our spiritual master, but senior devotees, mentors, and like-minded individuals. This comes up with the devotee association, who can provide support and insights in this journey. Challenges. It is natural to face challenges and setbacks. There will be moments of attachment and expectations. The key is to recognize them and gently bring your focus back to the practice of detachment and perseverance. Like any other practice, it requires perseverance and patience. Over time, with consistent effort, it becomes easier to save without attachment. Now, don't think that I'm giving you my personal experiences. No, I'm sharing the difficulties we all share. So we all are in the same boat. I'm learning with you as well. Over time, with consistent effort, it becomes easier to save without attachment. But remember, the goal is not to become completely detached overnight, but to gradually cultivate a mindset that allows you to save with love and dedication, free from the burden of expectations. We cannot become detached overnight. It takes time. So main thing is that we should realize it is a difficult journey, but the methods are there. We need to consistently remember and practice, and one day, with the expectation that one day we'll achieve our goal, which is the absolute truth, the truth of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Any questions or contributions, please? I hope I haven't put everybody to sleep.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandot Pranam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you very much for a very, very enlightening class today, especially like the the end section very much about detachment, about cultivating detachment. And you've given us proper pathways to do that, as well as the challenges that we face. Thank you very much for this enlightening session. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. It's all Prabhupada's quotations. Nothing is mine. I just searched and found what Prabhupada had to say.
It's a wonderful compilation, though, Prabhu. Thank you.
Any more comments? So somebody should be able to read something. We all go through it.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much for the class,
Hare
and
Krishna.
particularly of the importance of family life. And the gist of the thing is that a person, although doing family life, he should not be attached to the affairs he should always remember that as a householder also, he is performing all these things for the service of Krishna. So whatever endeavor he is giving, although he is earning money and accumulating money, but he should not utilize it just for the family, but he should utilize it for the service of the Lord. And externally, he is earning, he is maintaining his livelihood, but he should always remember that his ultimate duty is to serve the Lord, and he should not forget that responsibility. And all his activities, he should always remember this. And if he does that, and in this way, he will not be drifted from his main real dharma, or to serve the Lord. Because in his capacity as a grihastha, he is only discharging his duties and helping others, those who are dependent on him, to serve the Lord. And that is the importance of family life, or a grihastha life. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah, I'd like to put a question to everyone then. How do we remember what our mission of life is? If you've been listening attentively, you should be able to answer this question.
And yes, that is the...
What does it mean that we remember? I mean, how can you remember your mission? Yeah, Prabhu, sorry, you were saying something.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
By putting Krishna in center, doing daily meditation with the family, that's what I heard, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Exactly. The Prabhupada has said that to worship, our daily worships, reading, studying, and main thing is chanting Krishna's names. So if you are doing that, that means you remember what the goal is. So not just theoretically thinking, oh, these are the things we should do, but we should actually put into practice what the teachings are. Thanks, Prabhu.
That will help us detach from the family.
Yeah, eventually, it's not overnight thing. This is what Prabhupada has said. It's not an overnight. It will take time, depending on your seriousness and how purely you are chanting. Remember one other thing, detrimental or negative thing is committing offenses while chanting, while duty service, and while dealing with other devotees. Not just devotees, we should not offend anyone. If we offend materialists, you might get a black eye. You're not careful, but also you'll get whether the devotee or non-devotee, aparadhi is there, you should not commit offenses. So while we are chanting, we may be chanting very seriously, but everything will be nullified if you commit offenses. Anybody else? It's a serious topic. We should all have some contribution to make, because that deals with our own life. Okay then, thanks very much for listening. महात्मा खलु प्रिय विप्रवर्ते उत्तम श्लोक पादयो छाया निवर्तते चितानां न कुटुंबे स्पृहमति. Elevated Mahatmas who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are fully satiated by the shade of those lotus feet. Their consciousness cannot possibly become attached to family members. Rasaprayan ki Grantaraj Bhagavatam ki jai. Vishnu ki jai. Namah. Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Rasaprayan Prabhuji ki jai.
All devotees ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Very happy New Year. Please
Very happy New Year.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
take care, be safe, and come to Rath Yatra today.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you.